Tonight, let us take a quiet journey into the world's forests. Imagine the vast canopies of the Amazon, where light filters through endless green. Picture the snow-laden trees of the Siberian taiga, their branches heavy and silent beneath northern skies. Forests are more than landscapes. They are living systems that breathe, shelter, and hold the stories of civilizations. As we move through this calm exploration, we'll uncover 40 facts about forest facts of biodiversity, climate, and history woven into a soothing narrative. Each fact is a window into how forests shape our planet, our culture, and our shared future. If you enjoy learning in this gentle way, I invite you to like and subscribe, but only if it feels natural. And, if you wish, share in the comments where you're watching from, the time of day, and which forest of the world you dream of visiting one day. Now, let's begin with our first forest fact. Fact 1. Forests cover about 31% of the Earth's land area. That may sound like a great deal, but in truth, it is less than half of what existed before large-scale human expansion. Ancient forests once dominated continents, stretching without interruption for thousands of miles. Today, the pattern has broken into fragments, yet the memory of their vastness still lingers in the great green belts across South America, Central Africa, and Northern Asia. Fact 2. The Amazon rainforest alone produces 20% of the world's oxygen. It is often called the lungs of the earth, a phrase both poetic and scientifically meaningful. The Amazon's trees exchange carbon dioxide for oxygen at a scale so immense that the planet's climate relies on its balance. To breathe in any city, whether Paris, Mumbai, or New York, is to inhale the unseen work of distant leaves. Fact 3. Forests are home to more than 80% of terrestrial species of animals, plants, and fungi. A forest is never silent, even when its surface seems still. Beneath the bark, within the soil, and high in the canopy, countless organisms interact in networks so complex that scientists are still only beginning to map them. For example, mycorrhizal fungi connect the roots of trees in what researchers now call the wood wide web, a silent internet of nutrients and communication. Fact 4. Boreal forests, also called taiga, make up the largest land biome on Earth, stretching across Russia, Canada, and Scandinavia. These forests are dominated by conifers like spruce, pine, and fir. Though they may appear monochrome and still, they play a massive role in storing carbon, stabilizing soil, and hosting migratory species such as moose, wolves, and birds that traverse entire hemispheres. Fact 5. Mangrove forests, though often overlooked, are among the most valuable coastal ecosystems, found in tropical regions from Southeast Asia to the Caribbean. Mangroves grow in salty waters, where their tangled roots protect shorelines from erosion and storm surges. In times of climate crisis, mangroves are like natural seawalls, their quiet strength absorbing the force of hurricanes and typhoons. Each of these facts reveals a truth that forests are not static. They are active, dynamic, and essential to human life. They provide timber, yes, but also medicine, climate regulation, clean water, and inspiration. Writers, poets, and philosophers have often retreated into forests to find clarity. And yet, while we admire their beauty, we must also acknowledge their fragility. Fact 6. More than 1.6 billion people around the world depend directly on forests for their livelihood. This includes not only indigenous communities who have lived in harmony with forests for millennia, but also rural populations who gather food, fuel, and materials from them. Even in modern cities, economies trace back to forests, whether through imported timber, paper industries, or tourism drawn to national parks. Fact 7. The Amazon, Congo Basin, and Southeast Asian rainforests are together called the three great rainforests of the world. Each functions as a planetary regulator, storing immense amounts of carbon, driving rainfall cycles, and influencing weather patterns far beyond their borders. A storm in Europe can sometimes be traced to evaporation cycles that began with forest transpiration in Africa or South America. Fact 8. Japan's forests cover about 67% of the nation's land area, a strikingly high proportion for such a densely populated country. Forested mountains rise just beyond bustling cities like Tokyo, creating a cultural landscape where modern life and ancient woodlands coexist. This abundance of forests has inspired Japanese traditions like Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, a practice of mindful immersion in nature for health and relaxation. Fact 9. The Siberian boreal forest contains an estimated 500 billion trees. To stand in this vastness is to feel the weight of time itself. Many of these trees are centuries old, with growth slowed by cold temperatures. Yet they endure, storing vast quantities of carbon in both wood and permafrost soils. Beneath them, an invisible bank account for Earth's climate. Fact 10. The world's smallest forest biome exists on isolated islands where ecosystems adapt uniquely to limited space. On islands like Madagascar or New Guinea, forests become laboratories of evolution, giving rise to species found nowhere else on Earth. The lemurs of Madagascar and the birds of paradise in Papua New Guinea are not only beautiful, they are reminders of how forests nurture uniqueness. As we drift through these first 10 facts, notice how forests appear in many forms: coastal and insular. Each type has its own character, like chapters in a story written by geology, climate, and time. Before we move to the next set of discoveries, let's pause to reflect. Forests do not merely decorate our planet. They are its foundation. To walk among their trees, whether in a rainforest or a pine grove, is to stand in a cathedral shaped not by human hands, but by nature's patience. As we continue our journey, let us linger on the relationship between forests and the atmosphere. Every tree, every leaf, participates in a cycle far greater than itself. Forests are the breath of the earth, absorbing carbon dioxide, exhaling oxygen, and shaping the very climate that sustains life. Fact 11. Tropical forests absorb around 1.4 billion tons of carbon dioxide each year. This makes them one of the most important tools in the fight against climate change. They act as natural carbon sinks, storing greenhouse gases that would otherwise accumulate in the atmosphere. Without these forests, the warming of our planet would accelerate dramatically, affecting not just polar ice and sea levels, but also agriculture, cities, and economies worldwide. Fact 12. Forests influence rainfall patterns both locally and globally. When trees release water vapor through transpiration, they help form clouds that eventually return moisture to the land as rain. The Amazon, for example, creates its own rainfall system, recycling up to half of the rain that falls within its basin. This self-sustaining cycle is so vast that some scientists call it a flying river. Fact 13. Deforestation disrupts not only ecosystems, but also weather far away. For instance, studies suggest that cutting down large areas of the Amazon could reduce rainfall as far north as the United States Midwest, or as far east as West Africa. This is because forests help regulate atmospheric circulation, connecting distant climates like threads in a tapestry. Fact 14. Boreal forests store more carbon in their soils than tropical forests. While tropical rainforests hold their carbon above ground in dense biomass, boreal regions lock immense amounts underground in permafrost. When permafrost melts, it releases carbon and methane, intensifying global warming. Thus, the stability of the boreal forest is critical for the global economy, agriculture, and even coastal cities vulnerable to rising seas. Fact 15. Urban forest sparks, tree-lined streets, and green belts, city climates. A single large tree can provide cooling equivalent to 10 air conditioners running for 20 hours. In cities like Singapore and Vancouver, urban forestry is treated as essential infrastructure, not just decoration. It lowers energy costs, attracts tourism, and improves luxury real estate values, connecting nature directly to the economy. Fact 16. Cloud forests, found at high altitudes in tropical regions, are unique in that they harvest water directly from mist. These forests, such as those in Costa Rica and Ethiopia, are often shrouded in fog, and their plants absorb moisture from the air. This rare adaptation creates water supplies for rivers that millions of people rely on downstream. Tourism thrives in these environments, where visitors seek the ethereal beauty of moss-draped trees and shifting clouds. Fact 17. Forests act as windbreaks, protecting agricultural fields from erosion. In many rural economies, shelter belts of trees reduce wind speed, stabilize soil, and increase crop yields. This quiet partnership between farming and forestry is often overlooked, but is vital for global food security. Fact 18. Coastal forests, including mangroves and beachside woodlands, serve as bulwarks against tsunamis and cyclones. After the devastating 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, areas shielded by mangroves suffered less damage. Their roots and dense foliage absorbed much of the wave's energy, protecting human lives and property worth billions. In this way, forests are both natural wonders and practical protectors of human prosperity. Fact 19. Forests regulate temperature extremes, both locally and regionally. Walking into a forest on a hot summer day feels instantly cooler, not only because of shade, but also because trees release moisture into the air, reducing heat stress. On a planetary scale, these effects balance energy flows between equator and poles. Fact 20. Even the sounds of forests, from rustling leaves to bird calls, can influence human well-being. Research in psychology and medicine has shown that forest soundscapes reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and even accelerate recovery in hospitals. Thus, forests do not only regulate climate and oxygen, they also regulate human emotion, health, and quality of life. Pause for a moment and picture this: a rainforest mist rising at dawn, or the stillness of a snowy pine forest absorbing the silence of winter. These landscapes are not just scenery. They are active participants in the great drama of Earth's balance. Forests are global, yet they are also intimate. You may live thousands of miles away from the Congo Basin or Siberian taiga, and the climate of your city are tied to them. We exist not beside forests, but within their network of influence. As we move into the next section, we will look not only at nature's role, but at humanity's relationship with these green worlds. The civilizations that rose beside forests, the trade that passed through their shadows, and the cultures that still draw strength from their quiet presence. Forests have always been more than landscapes. They have been providers, protectors, and even spiritual guides. From the earliest days of human history, forests shaped where people lived, how they traveled, what they ate, and even how they imagined the divine. Fact 21. Many of the world's first civilizations flourished in and around forests. The Indus Valley, though known for its rivers, was nourished by forests that supplied timber for building, fuel for fires, and herbs for medicine. Similarly, in Europe, ancient Celtic tribes considered groves to be sacred gathering places, believing trees to be guardians of wisdom. Fact 22. Japan's forests, which cover over 2/3 of the country, have influenced both economy and culture. The Shinto religion reveres trees as sacred, and many shrines are built within wooded areas. Forests provided timber for traditional architecture and still inspire Japan's luxury tourism industry, where visitors seek peace in moss gardens and temple groves. Fact 23. Medieval Europe relied heavily on forests for fuel and construction. Timber from the Black Forest in Germany and the Ardennes in Belgium powered economies, built ships, and fueled the rise of trade. Entire luxury industries, from fine furniture to cathedral architecture, were possible because of forest resources. Fact 24. The Silk Road, often thought of as desert caravans and bustling bazaars, also passed through forested regions. Central Asian woodlands supplied caravans with fuel, while Siberian forests became routes for furs traded across to Europe. Forest products were as essential to global trade as silk and spices. Fact 25. In the Amazon, forests are not only ecosystems, but libraries of knowledge. Indigenous peoples, through centuries of close observation, have discovered thousands of medicinal uses for plants. Some of these, like quinine from the cinchona tree, have saved millions of lives globally. Today, pharmaceutical companies continue to research rainforest plants, knowing they may hold cures to diseases yet untreatable. Fact 26. In Scandinavia, boreal forests gave rise to the Viking economy. Ships carved from oak and pine allowed Norse explorers to reach Greenland, Iceland, and even North America. These forests provided the raw material for one of history's most famous seafaring cultures. Tourism today continues to celebrate this legacy, with wooden-staved churches and Viking ship museums showcasing the link between forest and culture. Fact 27. Sacred forests exist across the world. In India, sacred groves are preserved patches of woodland dedicated to deities or ancestral spirits. These areas often remain untouched by logging and serve as biodiversity reservoirs. Anthropologists have noted that many endangered species survive in such groves, protected not by modern laws, but by cultural reverence. Fact 28. The Mayan civilization depended on forests for survival. But their expansion also led to deforestation that may have contributed to their decline. By cutting down trees for agriculture and temples, they altered rainfall patterns and soil fertility. This serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between human needs and nature's resilience. Fact 29. Russia's taiga has been both an obstacle and a resource in history. Armies attempting to cross its endless forests from Napoleon to Hitler struggled against its sheer vastness and harsh winters. At the same time, its timber and furs fed the Russian economy for centuries. Even today, the Boreal forest remains one of the largest sources of natural wealth in the country. Fact 30. In modern times, ecotourism thrives because of forests. Destinations like Costa Rica's Monteverde cloud forest attract visitors from around the globe, who come not for luxury hotels or urban glamour, but for the experience of walking beneath emerald canopies, hearing howler monkeys at dawn, and watching mist drift over treetops. This form of travel brings revenue to local communities while fostering conservation. Fact 31. Urban planning often draws inspiration from forests. In Singapore, a city known for its futuristic skyline, architects weave vertical gardens and rooftop forests into buildings. These green designs reduce energy costs, attract global investment, and create a sense of luxury living. Here, the forest has become not just a natural phenomenon, but a model for modern technology and design. Fact 32. Traditional crafts rooted in forests still thrive. From Japan's washi paper, made from mulberry bark, to Scandinavia's wooden carving traditions, forests have been sources of cultural identity. Even in global luxury markets, products made from forest resources, such as fine violins from spruce or aromatic sandal, would trade prestige and economic value. Fact 33. Beyond material use, forests shaped human imagination. Fairy tales of Europe's stories of enchanted woods, wolves, and hidden treasures reflect the deep cultural association between forests and mystery. In African folklore, forest spirits guide and challenge humans, teaching lessons of humility. These stories transcend borders and remind us that forests are not just physical spaces, but also places of wonder and meaning. Fact 34. The German concept of Waldschwul, the feeling of being in a forest, captures an emotional connection to wooded spaces. It is a sense of quiet awe, of belonging to something vast and timeless. Today, this is reflected in the popularity of forest bathing, or Shinran-yoku, a Japanese practice of mindful immersion in woodland surroundings. Scientists confirm it reduces stress and boosts immunity, linking cultural traditions to modern wellness industries. Fact 35. Entire economies have grown around forest industries. Canada, for example, exports timber and paper products worldwide. But at the same time, it invests heavily in forest conservation, knowing that its national identity and global reputation are tied to these natural landscapes. Balancing economy and ecology is one of the great modern challenges. As we see, forests have always been companions of civilizations, sometimes exploited, sometimes revered, but always shaping the trajectory of human life. They are not passive backdrops, but active characters in our shared history. In the next section, we will dive deeper into the biodiversity of forests, where hidden wonders, glowing fungi, whispering insects, and the largest animals of land come together in a symphony of life. When you step into a forest, you are not walking through a simple collection of trees. You are entering one of the richest and most complex tapestries of life on Earth. From the towering giants of the canopy to the invisible fungi weaving beneath the soil, forests contain more living diversity than almost any other biome. Fact 36. Tropical rainforests. Though they cover less than 7% of Earth's land surface, host more than half of the world's species. The Amazon alone is home to an estimated 16,000 species of trees and millions of animal species, many of which remain undocumented. Scientists often say that entering a rainforest is like entering a living library, where each leaf and insect is a page yet to be read. Fact 37. The forest floor, often dark and humid, is just as alive as the canopy above. It is home to jaguars in South America, tigers in Asia, and forest elephants in Africa. These creatures are not only majestic symbols, but also crucial regulators of ecosystems, spreading seeds and balancing populations of prey. Without them, entire food webs would collapse. Fact 38. Fungi, often overlooked, form one of the most important networks in a forest. Mycorrhizal fungi connect tree roots in what scientists call the wood wide web. Through these underground threads, trees share nutrients and even send warning signals about pests or drought. This hidden communication network proves that forests are not just collections of individuals, but communities cooperating for survival. Fact 39. Rainforests are known for their canopy, a green ceiling where life thrives in sunlight. Birds like macaws, monkeys like howlers and spider monkeys, and countless insects live entirely above ground, rarely touching the forest floor. The canopy is so complex that scientists often need cranes or hot air balloons to study it, discovering species unknown to science. Fact 40. Forests are also home to some of the world's smallest wonders. In Madagascar's rainforests lives the Bruxia nana, a chameleon so tiny it can perch on a matched head. In the Amazon, bioluminescent fungi glow softly at night, creating patches of light that some call fairy fire. These minute details add layers of magic to the forest experience. Fact 41. Boreal forests, though less biodiverse than rainforests, harbor unique creatures adapted to cold. The Siberian tiger, the world's largest cat, prowls among snow-laden pines. Moose, lynx, and reindeer navigate forests where winter reigns for much of the year. These animals show that biodiversity is not measured by numbers alone, but by the remarkable ways life adapts to extreme conditions. Fact 42. The Amazon River, which cuts through the world's largest rainforest, creates a unique fusion of aquatic and forest biodiversity. Pink river dolphins swim beneath canopy overhangs, while caimans rest on sandy shores. The blending of river and forest environments creates one of the richest ecological mosaics known to science. Fact 43. Forests also house an astonishing array of insects. Ants in the Amazon can build colonies so vast they resemble underground cities, with complex ventilation systems. In tropical Asia, stick insects grow to half a meter long, perfectly camouflaged among leaves. In boreal forests, mosquitoes emerge in such numbers that they become a central challenge for both humans and wildlife. Fact 44. Birds reveal the richness of forests in song and color. From the resplendent quetzal in Central America to the scarlet ibis of South America and the great gray owl of Canada's taiga, forests provide sanctuaries where birds not only survive but also evolve into dazzling forms. Birdwatching tourism has become a luxury niche industry, with travelers seeking rare species in remote forested regions. Fact 45. Some forest animals play essential roles in regeneration. Fruit bats, often misunderstood, are key seed dispersers in tropical forests. By eating fruit and dropping seeds across long distances, they help regrow forests after disturbances. Similarly, elephants are sometimes called gardeners of the forest because they spread seeds of trees that smaller animals cannot handle. Fact 46. Biodiversity in forests is not just about animals and plants. Microbes in soil help recycle nutrients, ensuring that fallen leaves and dead wood are broken down into minerals that new plants can use. Without this constant recycling, forests would collapse under their own weight of organic matter. Fact 47. Forests are also strongholds for medicinal plants. The rosy periwinkle from Madagascar provided compounds used in cancer treatments. The Amazon yields plants used in anesthesia, pain relief, and anti-malarial drugs. The global pharmaceutical industry often looks to forests for inspiration, proving that biodiversity is not just beautiful, but also invaluable to human health and luxury medicine. Fact 48. Coral reefs are often called the rainforests of the sea. But the reverse is also true. Rainforests are the coral reefs of the land. Their complexity creates niches where life evolves in countless forms, making them hotspots of global tourism and scientific discovery. Fact 49. Some forest species remain undiscovered. Experts estimate that millions of insect and fungal species still hide in tropical canopies and soils, waiting to be identified. Each expedition reveals something new: a frog that can fit on a fingernail, a plant with medicinal properties, or an insect with dazzling camouflage. Forests remind us that we live on a planet where much remains a mystery. Fact 50. Despite this richness, forest biodiversity is under constant threat from deforestation, climate change, and industrial expansion. Yet conservation projects, ecotourism, and education are showing that people value biodiversity, not just for economic reasons, but for its intrinsic wonder. In Costa Rica, reserves like La Selva protect species while attracting travelers who want to experience biodiversity firsthand. Fact 51. Forests also hold cultural biodiversity. Indigenous knowledge, stories, and practices are deeply tied to the living organisms around them. To lose a species is not just an ecological tragedy, but also the loss of cultural heritage, of songs, myths, and wisdom tied to that life form. Fact 52. Biodiversity in forests is dynamic, always changing. New species arrive, others decline, and cycles of life, death, and renewal continue endlessly. A fallen tree, though it may look like decay, becomes a nursery for moss, insects, and fungi. Life in the forest is a constant dance of endings and beginnings. Fact 53. The forest is not silent, though it may feel calm. If one listens carefully, it is filled with layers of sound. Birds calling from the canopy, insects buzzing, frogs croaking, monkeys howling, and leaves rustling in the breeze. Scientists call this acoustic diversity, and it is as much a part of biodiversity as the visual world. Fact 54. Many forests operate like clocks, with species tuned to specific times of day or night. Flowers bloom in the morning when pollinators are most active. Owls hunt in twilight, and fireflies blink in rhythmic displays after sunset. These natural schedules create harmony in the ecosystem. Fact 55. Some forests even host migrations. In North America, monarch butterflies gather by the millions in forests of Mexico, covering trees with orange wings. In Africa, fruit bats migrate in vast clouds to forests in Zambia, creating one of the largest gatherings of mammals on Earth. These migrations remind us that forests are nodes in global networks of life. As we've seen, the biodiversity of forests is not a simple list of species, but an intricate web where everything is connected, from glowing fungi in the soil to birds flying above the canopy. Every leaf, every creature, every drop of rain contributes to a vast and fragile harmony. In the next section, we will explore forests as climate regulators, examining how they act as the Earth's lungs, absorbing carbon, producing oxygen, and influencing weather patterns far beyond their borders. When we think of forests, we often imagine their beauty, their wildlife, or their role as havens of calm. But forests also function as vast, silent machines regulating the planet's climate. Their influence reaches far beyond the trees themselves, shaping rainfall, temperatures, and even the stability of human civilizations. Fact 56. Forests are often called the lungs of the Earth because they absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. The Amazon rainforest alone produces about 20% of the world's oxygen supply. While this phrase is poetic, it is also scientifically grounded. Forests balance the very air we breathe, and without them, the global economy and human health would suffer. Fact 57. Forests are powerful carbon sinks. Together, they absorb around 2.6 billion tons of carbon dioxide annually. This makes them one of the most important tools in the fight against climate change. Without forests acting as buffers, atmospheric carbon would accumulate far more quickly, leading to sharper rises in global temperatures, disrupted weather patterns, and increased economic risks for agriculture and tourism. Fact 58. The Amazon rainforest has such an immense influence on climate that scientists sometimes call it a flying river. Water evaporates from the trees' leaves, forming clouds that drift across South America, delivering rain as far away as Argentina. Without this cycle, farming economies across the continent would collapse, showing just how tied human prosperity is to forest ecosystems. Fact 59. Forests also regulate temperatures at local and regional levels. Their leafy canopies provide shade, lowering ground temperatures by several degrees. Cities surrounded by forests enjoy cooler microclimates, reducing energy demands for air conditioning and supporting tourism industries that rely on comfortable climates. Fact 60. Boreal forests, stretching across Canada, Russia, and Scandinavia, influence the global climate differently. Their snow-covered trees reflect sunlight, helping to regulate Earth's temperature. In winter, these reflective surfaces prevent excessive warming, while in summer, the forests absorb carbon, balancing seasonal cycles. Fact 61. Deforestation not only releases stored carbon, but also disrupts rainfall. In West Africa, scientists have shown that cutting down forests leads to declining rainfall, which directly affects agriculture, food security, and regional economies. The loss of forest cover is therefore not only an environmental concern, but also a pressing issue for human survival. Fact 62. Mangrove forests found along coastlines are particularly effective at capturing carbon. These coastal ecosystems store up to 4 times more carbon than terrestrial forests, locking it deep in their waterlogged soils. They are nature's faults, protecting the atmosphere from carbon overload. Their role is so vital that conserving mangroves is often framed as both an environmental necessity and a luxury investment in climate resilience. Fact 63. Tropical rainforests play a role in stabilizing global weather systems. They release water vapor that contributes to global wind patterns, influencing monsoons in Asia and rainfall in Africa. This interconnection highlights how what happens in one forest can ripple outward to affect agriculture, tourism, and trade across continents. Fact 64. The Sahara Desert might not exist in its current vastness if not for forests. Some scientists suggest that historic deforestation in North Africa thousands of years ago disrupted rainfall patterns, transforming once lush savannas into arid landscapes. This connection between forests and deserts shows that vegetation is more than scenery. It is a planetary force. Fact 65. Urban forests also help regulate climate, though on a smaller scale. Parks, tree-lined streets, and green roofs cool cities, absorb pollutants, and enhance property values. Luxury real estate often markets proximity to forested areas or urban greenery, showing how ecological health can merge with economic value. Fact 66. Forests act as buffers against natural disasters. Another way they regulate climates and protect societies. In coastal regions, mangroves and tropical forests shield communities from cyclones and tsunamis by absorbing the force of waves and winds. Their presence can mean the difference between devastation and resilience. Fact 67. Forests produce aerosols, tiny particles released from plants that help seed clouds. This process influences rainfall and can even cool the atmosphere by reflecting sunlight. Such subtle roles demonstrate that forests operate on scales invisible to human eyes, but essential to human economies. Fact 68. Even the world's oceans depend on forests. Nutrients washed from forest soils feed coastal waters, supporting fisheries that millions of people rely on. Without forests stabilizing watersheds, rivers would run with less consistency, threatening marine biodiversity and the fishing tourism industries that depend on healthy seas. Fact 69. Scientists studying ice cores and sediment layers have shown that when forests expand, climates stabilize. When they contract, droughts and temperature swings become more severe. Forests are therefore not only ecosystems, but also historical records of Earth's climatic balance. Fact 70. The luxury of fresh water also depends on forests. More than 75% of the world's accessible fresh water originates in forested watersheds. From the Andes to the Himalayas, trees capture and store rainfall, releasing it gradually to rivers that supply megacities like Lima, New Delhi, and Beijing. Without forests, water scarcity would spread much faster. Fact 71. Boreal forests, while capturing carbon, also release methane when permafrost melts due to climate change. This delicate balance means that protecting boreal forests is not just about maintaining them, but also about preventing dangerous feedback loops in the global climate system. Fact 72. Forests provide resilience against heat waves. During the record heat in Europe, scientists found that regions with intact forests experienced lower mortality rates because the cooling effect of trees reduced the strain on infrastructure and human health. In this sense, forests save lives during climate extremes. Fact 73. In South Asia, the monsoon system depends heavily on the presence of Himalayan forests. These high-altitude ecosystems trap moisture, releasing it slowly into rivers and into the air. Without them, monsoons could weaken or shift unpredictably, threatening agriculture in one of the most densely populated regions of the planet. Fact 74. Forests even influence luxury industries like wine and coffee. Vineyards and plantations depend on predictable rainfall, moderate temperatures, and healthy soils stabilized by nearby forests. As deforestation and climate disruption increase, these industries face challenges that ripple through global trade and luxury markets. Fact 75. Forests remind us that nature's systems are deeply interwoven. They breathe for us, they cool for us, and they protect us from instability. Their value is not simply ecological, it is economic, cultural, and deeply human. They stand as both guardians of the earth and partners in human prosperity. As we leave the climate-regulating powers of forests, we transition to another theme: the forests as providers. Beyond oxygen and rainfall, they offer wood, food, medicine, and endless inspiration. In the next section, we will step into this ancient relationship between forests and human needs, a bond as old as civilization itself. When we think of human civilization, we often picture great cities, shining monuments, and thriving economies. Yet beneath all of this, forests have always stood as silent providers. They give us wood to build, plants to heal, and food to nourish. For thousands of years, they have shaped economies, cultures, and the very survival of communities. Fact 76. Forests supply more than half of all the wood harvested worldwide. This timber becomes homes, furniture, tools, and paper. In luxury industries, rare tropical hardwoods, such as mahogany, rosewood, and teak, are prized for their beauty and durability, symbolizing wealth while reminding us of the deep value forests hold in global trade. Fact 77. Forests feed us in ways often overlooked. Nuts, fruits, mushrooms, and wild honey are all forest gifts. In places like the Amazon, communities depend on Brazil nuts and acai berries not only for nutrition, but also as sources of income, connecting forest resources directly to local economies and global health food markets. Fact 78. Medicine owes a profound debt to forests. More than a quarter of modern pharmaceuticals originate from plants found in rainforests and temperate woodlands. The bark of the cinchona tree gave us quinine, once essential in treating malaria. Pacific yew trees provided compounds that led to cancer-fighting drugs. Forest biodiversity is not only beautiful, but also life-saving. Fact 79. Forests provide fibers that have been used for clothing for centuries. Bamboo, hemp, and rattan are woven into fabrics, mats, and baskets, supporting craft industries and tourism. These natural fibers are now being rediscovered in modern, sustainable fashion, linking ancient traditions with new technologies in eco-luxury markets. Fact 80. In boreal forests, reindeer moss sustains herds that indigenous peoples depend on for food, clothing, and trade. This relationship demonstrates how forests are not abstract systems, but intimate partners in cultural survival, weaving ecosystems into human history. Fact 81. Forests are sources of energy. In many developing nations, wood and charcoal remain primary fuels for cooking and heating. While modern economies may rely on electricity and oil, billions still turn daily to forests for warmth and sustenance. This underscores forests' enduring role in both rural and urban life. Fact 82. Bamboo forests deserve special mention. Bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants in the world, capable of shooting up several feet in a single day. Its strength rivals steel, making it valuable for construction, luxury flooring, and even technology products. Its sustainability makes it an increasingly popular material in global green economies. Fact 83. Forests also provide resins and gums used in everything from perfumes to luxury cosmetics. Frankincense and myrrh, harvested from forest trees, were once considered treasures more valuable than gold, traded along ancient routes that shaped early civilizations. Even today, these forest gifts carry cultural and economic weight. Fact 84. In tropical forests, latex, tapped from rubber trees, transformed global industries. The automobile age, medical equipment, and countless modern conveniences owe their existence to this resource. The story of rubber highlights how a single forest product can reshape economies worldwide. Fact 85. Forests are kitchens of diversity, offering foods that later became global staples. Coffee, cacao, and vinalol, forest-origin crops support billion-dollar industries. Their cultural and luxury significance shows how deeply forests influence not only diets, but also global commerce. Fact 86. Forest fisheries also exist. In flooded Amazon forests, fish thrive among submerged roots, sustaining local diets and trade. This shows that forests provide not only land-based foods, but also aquatic abundance, blurring the line between water and woodland. Fact 87. Indigenous knowledge has long guided sustainable use of forests. For example, agroforestry systems in Central America blend crops like corn and beans with shade-giving trees. This practice maintains biodiversity while ensuring food security, showing how humans and forests can thrive together. Fact 88. Forests support luxury tourism through resources tied to wellness. Spas and retreats often use herbal oils, teas, and scents derived from forest plants. Aromatherapy, rooted in cedar, sandalwood, and eucalyptus, reminds us of the calming power hidden in forest resources. Fact 89. Edible forest insects, often overlooked in the West, are essential protein sources in many cultures. Ants, beetles, and caterpillars are harvested from tropical forests, creating food security and even gourmet delicacies in some luxury restaurants. Fact 90. Mushrooms, including prized truffles, are products of forests that have achieved legendary status. Found in temperate woodlands of Europe, dogs and pigs are trained to sniff them out, blending forest ecology with human culture and luxury cuisine. Fact 91. Forests even supply clean water by acting as filters. Leaves, roots, and soils purify rainfall before releasing it to rivers. Bottled water companies often market their products as from pristine forest springs, showing how forests shape both basic survival and premium products. Fact 92. Silk, one of the world's most luxurious materials, also traces back to forests. Mulberry trees feed silkworms, whose threads are woven into fabrics that once clothed emperors. This link between forests and fashion is another example of natural wealth translated into cultural significance. Fact 93. Essential oils extracted from forest plants, like tea tree or peppermint, have become billion-dollar industries, bridging health, wellness, and luxury living. Their popularity in natural medicine and aromatherapy underscores how forests continue to provide in modern economies. Fact 94. Forests offer inspiration for design and art, serving as resource and muse. From Japanese lacquerware derived from tree sap to African wood carvings, forest resources become cultural treasures that preserve heritage and support livelihoods. Fact 95. The role of forests as providers is not only about extraction, but about balance. When resources are harvested sustainably, forests regenerate and continue to give. When overexploited, they decline, threatening both nature and human economies. This delicate balance teaches us the true meaning of wealth abundance that lasts through time. Fact 96. Forests even support space-age technologies. Cellulose, extracted from trees, is being explored for biodegradable plastics and even aerospace materials. The forests of the future may provide not only food and medicine, but also innovations for advanced industries. Fact 97. Forests provide resources for spiritual practices. Incense, sacred woods, and ritual plants connect humans to beliefs, ceremonies, and traditions. In this way, forests nurture not only bodies but also souls, offering intangible gifts that transcend economics. Fact 98. In global trade, forest products are not simply commodities. They are pillars of connection. From spices carried on ancient caravans to modern exports of timber and paper, forests have always been silent partners in globalization, weaving economies together across oceans and continents. Fact 99. The generosity of forests is staggering, but it also asks something of us in return. Stewardship. To give back ensures continuity. Every product, from a simple notebook to a luxury perfume, carries the weight of this balance. Fact 100. Forests, as providers, remind us that human progress has always been rooted in the quiet abundance of trees. To eat, to heal, to build, to imagine, we have always turned to the forest. As we leave behind the story of forests as providers, we next step into their cultural and spiritual significance. Forests do not simply feed bodies and economies, they shape myths, inspire art, and stand as sacred spaces in human imagination. Forests are more than ecosystems. For countless generations, they have stood as sacred spaces, sources of myths and mirrors of the human spirit. From Europe's enchanted groves to Asia's temple forests, trees have always whispered stories to those willing to listen. Fact 101. In Japan, forests are deeply tied to Shinto beliefs. Sacred groves, known as Chinju no Mori, often surround shrines, acting as living temples where the divine is thought to reside. Ancient cedars and pines become guardians of the spiritual world, embodying both protection and reverence. Fact 102. In Celtic tradition, forests were considered magical realms. Druids believed trees held wisdom and power, with the mighty oak revered as the king of the forest. Even the word druid is thought to connect to the oak, emphasizing its sacred role in culture, law, and spirituality. Fact 103. In Hinduism, forests appear frequently in sacred texts. The Ramayana describes Rama's exile into the forest, where trials and transformations take place. These landscapes are not barren or empty. They are places of spiritual testing and enlightenment, representing nature as a divine force. Fact 104. Indigenous peoples across the Americas see forests as living relatives. Among the Haudenosaunee Iroquois, trees are part of the standing people, honored for their role in sustaining life. Rituals and ceremonies often acknowledge forests not as resources alone, but as kin deserving gratitude. Fact 105. Germanic folklore gave us enchanted forests filled with witches, wolves, and trickster spirits. These stories traveled into Western fairy tales, inspiring works from the Brothers Grimm to modern films. The forest became a symbol of the unknown, a place of both fear and transformation. Fact 106. In Buddhism, forests are places of meditation and clarity. The Buddha himself is said to have attained enlightenment beneath a tree, the Bodhi tree, which still stands today in Bodh Gaya, India. Monastic traditions continue to send practitioners into forests for solitude and deeper practice. Fact 107. Forests are often centers of pilgrimage. In Ethiopia, church forests protect small pockets of biodiversity around ancient monasteries. These sacred woods are preserved not for economic use, but for spiritual devotion, blending ecology with faith. Fact 108. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, the world tree, connected all realms of existence. This cosmic ash tree linked heaven, earth, and the underworld, holding the universe together in its branches. Such myths reveal how forests are more than physical. They are cosmological symbols of balance and eternity. Fact 109. The Amazon rainforest itself is woven with spiritual meaning. Shamans use plants like ayahuasca for rituals that connect the human soul with the natural and spiritual world. Here, the forest is not backgrounded, is the temple, the teacher, and the healer. Fact 110. Sacred groves are found across Africa. In Nigeria, the Osanosagbo Sacred Grove honors the goddess Osan, blending rivers and forests into a spiritual sanctuary. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it shows how forests can serve as cultural anchors that endure for centuries. Fact 111. Forests have long been spaces of retreat for writers, poets, and artists. Henry David Thoreau, who lived by Walden Pond in the woods of Massachusetts, found inspiration for his reflections on simplicity and human connection to nature. Forest solitude becomes a space for philosophy and creativity. Fact 112. Forests appear in Christian imagery, too. Monks in medieval Europe built monasteries deep within woodlands, using forests as symbols of spiritual trials and renewal. The wilderness became both a place of challenge and divine encounter. Fact 113. In many Asian traditions, certain trees themselves are worshipped. The peepal tree, also known as the sacred fig, is honored in India and Nepal, with offerings made to its roots. Entire communities may gather under its shade, reinforcing both cultural and ecological significance. Fact 114. Even modern pop culture carries the echoes of ancient forest symbolism. From Tolkien's Fangorn Forest to the mystical forests of Studio Ghibli films, forests remain places of magic and wisdom, inviting audiences to reimagine the balance between humans and nature. Fact 115. Forests play a role in festivals and traditions. May Day celebrations in Europe often feature maypoles, symbolizing trees, fertility, and life. These rituals link community celebrations directly back to the living forests that shaped seasonal rhythms. Fact 116. Some cultures see forests as thresholds between worlds. In Slavic folklore, the mysterious figure Baba Yaga is said to dwell in a hut on chicken legs deep within the forest, testing travelers who dare to enter. Here, the forest is the gateway to transformation, both frightening and enlightening. Fact 117. Music, too, often carries the sound of forests. Drums made from hollowed logs, flutes from bamboo, and rattles from seeds are forest-born instruments. In this way, forests sing through human expression, echoing their role as cultural and creative sources. Fact 118. Forests often represent renewal in myths. Trees shed leaves only to grow again, embodying cycles of life, death, and rebirth. For this reason, many cultures view forests as eternal teachers of resilience and change. Fact 119. In indigenous Australian traditions, forests are part of the dream time, the spiritual foundation of life and land. Trees, rivers, and animals are woven into stories that explain creation, showing forests as ancestral spaces rather than mere landscapes. Fact 120. Today, forest spirituality continues in the form of ecotourism retreats. People seek forest bathing in Japan, spiritual walks in Europe, and wellness tourism worldwide. These experiences connect ancient reverence with modern health and luxury industries, showing that forests remain spiritual havens in the 21st century. As we pause here, the message becomes clear. Forests are not just ecological or economic. They are woven into our very imagination. They are teachers, symbols, and sanctuaries. In the next section, we will explore forests as frontiers of science and innovation, where researchers uncover new medicines, technologies, and global solutions hidden within the canopy. When we think of forests, we often imagine quiet landscapes of trees, leaves, and wildlife. Yet, beneath their canopies lies one of the greatest frontiers of scientific discovery. Forests are laboratories of nature, rich with untapped potential for medicine, technology, and global innovation. Fact 121. Rainforests are often called nature's pharmacy. Scientists estimate that more than 25% of modern medicines are derived from plants found in tropical forests, from quinine, which fights malaria, to cancer-fighting compounds like vincrestin from the Madagascar periwinkle. Forests provide life-saving cures. Fact 122. Only a fraction of forest plant species have been studied for their medicinal properties. The Amazon rainforest alone holds an estimated 80,000 species of plants. Yet, less than 5% have been tested for potential medical applications. This vast, unexplored resource fuels global interest in bioprospecting. Fact 123. Forest fungi also contribute to innovation. The discovery of penicillin, one of the most important antibiotics in history, came from a mold. Today, fungi in forests are studied not only for medicine but also for biotechnology, including biodegradable packaging, natural pesticides, and new materials. Fact 124. Forests inspire architecture and design. The branching structures of trees and the interwoven strength of roots influence biomimicry in engineering. Skyscrapers, bridges, and even transport networks have borrowed design principles from the forest's natural blueprints. Fact 125. One of the most fascinating areas of forest research is mycorrhizal networks, sometimes referred to as the wood wide web. Trees and fungi form underground communication systems, exchanging nutrients, warning of pests, and maintaining ecological balance. This network inspires innovations in data sharing and decentralized systems in human technology. Fact 126. Forests are essential in carbon capture research. Scientists studying how forests absorb and store carbon are developing new strategies for combating climate change. Projects like REDD plus reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation blend ecological science with economic policy, placing forests at the center of global climate solutions. Fact 127. Drones and satellites are now being used to map forests from above. High-resolution imagery helps track deforestation, measure biodiversity, and even predict wildfires. These technologies, once designed for space exploration or defense, now serve the health of the Earth's forests. Fact 128. In the field of pharmacology, Amazonian plants are being tested for treatments of neurological disorders. Compounds from certain vines and shrubs show potential in treating conditions like Alzheimer's or depression. These discoveries highlight how forests hold keys to modern health crises. Fact 129. Forest insects also inspire scientific breakthroughs. The structure of butterfly wings influences solar panel design, while beetle shells inspire water collection systems in arid regions. Tiny forest creatures guide advancements in renewable energy and sustainable engineering. Fact 130. Forests contribute to food security. Genetic diversity found in wild relatives of crops, such as forest rice varieties or wild cacao trees, helps improve resilience against pests, diseases, and climate change. Protecting forests ensures the future of global agriculture. Fact 131. Researchers study forest canopies as unique ecosystems. Using cranes, towers, and even hot air balloons, scientists explore layers of trees that hold undiscovered species. Each level of the forest, from the understory to the canopy, contains secrets yet to be revealed. Fact 132. One surprising innovation from forest research is sustainable packaging. Mycelium, the root system of fungi, can be shaped into durable, biodegradable materials that replace plastics. Major companies are now experimenting with forest-borne solutions to reduce pollution. Fact 133. Forest acoustics is an emerging field of science. By recording the sounds of forest bird calls, insect hums, and even the subtle crackle of leaves, researchers can monitor biodiversity. This non-invasive method provides clues about the health of ecosystems without disturbing them. Fact 134. Forests are central to the future of renewable energy. Studies of biomass, particularly wood pellets and biofuels, are advancing as alternatives to fossil fuels. However, scientists stress that this must be balanced with conservation to prevent overharvesting. Fact 135. The Amazon rainforest is home to over 2.5 million insect species, many of which remain unnamed. Each discovery adds to the understanding of evolution, adaptation, and biodiversity. Some insects may hold biochemical secrets useful in medicine or agriculture. Fact 136. Forest ethnobotany, the study of how indigenous peoples use plants bridges traditional knowledge with modern science. Healers in the Amazon, shamans in Borneo, and elders in African forests hold knowledge passed down for generations. Collaborations between scientists and indigenous communities protect both cultural and biological treasures. Fact 137. Urban forests are becoming scientific frontiers too. Studies show that planting more trees in cities lowers temperatures, reduces pollution, and improves mental health. This blending of ecology and public health demonstrates forests' role in shaping the cities of the future. Fact 138. The field of forest hydrology studies how trees influence water cycles. New research reveals that forests act like biological pumps, pulling water from the soil and releasing it into the atmosphere, where it later returns as rain. This system helps regulate global rainfall patterns. Fact 139. In the Arctic boreal forests, scientists study permafrost beneath the trees. As global temperatures rise, melting permafrost releases greenhouse gases. Forests play a crucial role in slowing or accelerating these processes, making them central to climate projections. Fact 140. Forests may also hold keys to outer space. Scientists study extremophiles, tiny organisms that survive in harsh forest conditions, such as acidic swamps or frozen taiga soils to better understand how life might exist on Mars or distant planets. Fact 141. Forest microbiomes, the invisible communities of bacteria, fungi, and viruses are now a focus of research. These hidden ecosystems regulate soil fertility, tree growth, and resilience against disease. Understanding them could revolutionize agriculture and ecological restoration. Fact 142. Even art conservation relies on forests. The chemistry of certain resins and oils from forest trees is used to preserve paintings, restore wooden sculptures, and protect heritage objects. Forest science preserves not only biodiversity, but also human creativity. Fact 143. Pharmaceutical companies invest heavily in forest exploration. Yet, international agreements now seek to ensure that local communities benefit when their forest genetic resources are used. This balance of science, economy, and ethics shows forests as spaces of global negotiation. Fact 144. Forest research also reveals the role of trees in mental wellness. Beyond forest bathing, studies show that the natural chemicals trees release, called phytoncides, may boost immunity, reduce blood pressure, and lower stress hormones. Science confirms what cultures have known for centuries, that forests heal. Fact 145. As we look forward, many scientists believe the next great medical breakthrough, technological invention, or climate solution may already exist, hidden within the dense foliage of a forest. Humanity's ability to protect these landscapes determines whether those discoveries are ever revealed. Forests, then, are not only sacred and ecological, they are scientific frontiers, offering possibilities as vast as the canopy itself. Art and storytelling, where they inspire imagination as much as they fuel science. Forests have never been only physical places. They are also landscapes of imagination, woven into myths, poetry, painting, and storytelling for millennia. To step into a forest, whether in reality or in a tale, is to enter a space that is at once mysterious, protective, and transformative. Fact 146. In European folklore, forests were often depicted as liminal spaces, the threshold between the familiar safety of villages and the wild unknown. Stories such as Hansel and Gretel or Little Red Riding Hood unfold in deep woods where danger and wonder coexist. These tales mirror the psychological perception of forests as both nurturing and perilous. Fact 147. In Japanese Shinto tradition, forests are sacred. Many shrines are built within groves, and trees themselves are seen as vessels of kami, or divine spirits. Forests are not just backdrops, but holy sanctuaries that embody the spiritual essence of nature. Fact 148. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, the world tree, links the 9 realms of existence. This cosmic ash tree symbolizes life, death, and rebirth, reflecting how deeply forests and trees shape cosmological understanding. Fact 100. and 49. The Amazon rainforest also holds a mythic place in indigenous oral traditions. The Yanomami people, for instance, describe the forest as a living ancestor, a being that breathes and responds to human actions. Mythology and ecology merge in a worldview that sustains respect and balance. Fact 150. Forests are central in medieval European literature. The Arthurian legends, for example, often place knights within enchanted groves where trials of courage unfold. These spaces act as stages for personal transformation, where ordinary landscapes become testing grounds for destiny. Fact 151. The Romantic poets of the 18th and 19th centuries embraced forests as symbols of sublime beauty. William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge found inspiration in wooded landscapes, seeing them as places where one could reconnect with purity, imagination, and divine order. Fact 152. In Hindu epics such as the Ramayana, forests are both settings for exile and places of spiritual awakening. Rama and Sita spend years in forest hermitages, where natural surroundings serve as both challenge and refuge, blending nature with moral and spiritual growth. Fact 153. The Grimm's fairy tales, compiled in Germany, made forests central to European imagination. These dark woods were often metaphors for the subconscious wild, unpredictable but filled with lessons and hidden treasures. Fact 154. In art, forests appear in medieval manuscripts, Renaissance paintings, and romantic landscapes. Albrecht Dürer's woodcuts, for example, paid meticulous attention to trees, elevating them from background to subject. The forest in art became a mirror of human perception. Fact 155. Indigenous North American cultures weave forests into myths of creation and transformation. The Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois, describe the tree of peace, symbolizing unity and diplomacy, rooted in the forests of the Great Lakes region. Fact 156. Shakespeare's plays often use forests as liminal, transformative spaces. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, the enchanted forest is where love, magic, and mischief take place, contrasting with the rigid order of the city. In As You Like It, the Forest of Arden serves as a stage for renewal and freedom. Fact 157. The boreal forests of Russia inspired some of the most evocative folk tales. Baba Yaga, a witch who lives in a hut on chicken legs, dwells deep in the woods. Forests, in Slavic storytelling, are places of trials, danger, and sometimes wisdom. Fact 158. Forest symbolism also pervades modern fantasy. J.R.R. Tolkien's Farast, home to the Ents in The Lord of the Rings, reflects the resilience of ancient nature against industrial destruction. Forests remain guardians, alive and wise. Fact 159. Forests inspire music, too. The German composer Richard Wagner infused his operas with forest imagery, using orchestral tones to mimic rustling leaves and whispering winds. Sound, like words, captures the forest's living presence. Fact 160. Forests are woven into African oral traditions. In West African tales, forests often represent crossroads between the physical and spiritual worlds. Trickster figures, like an Anzi, the spider, move through these spaces, blurring boundaries between human and divine. Fact 161. In Celtic mythology, forests were deeply sacred. Druids performed rituals in oak groves, and specific trees, such as the yew or the rowan, were revered as protectors. Forests were living temples of wisdom. Fact 162. Modern literature continues to draw upon forest archetypes. From C.S. Lewis's Narnia to Suzanne Collins's Hunger Games, forests remain spaces where characters discover inner strength, encounter danger, and face moral choices. Fact 163. Forests also influence visual storytelling in cinema. The Dark Woods of Princess Mononoke by Hayao Miyazaki explore the tension between industrial expansion and natural guardianship. Forests, portrayed as divine and sentient, reflect ecological ethics. Fact 164. Even contemporary art installations use forests as both canvas and inspiration. Some artists build living sculptures among trees, while others bring entire forests into galleries, reimagining the relationship between people and trees. Fact 165. Mythology and art remind us that forests are never just timber or ecosystems. They are mental landscapes. They embody fear, hope, mystery, and beauty, serving as mirrors of the human soul. Fact 166. Across cultures, the forest often represents the unknown. To walk into a dense woodland is to leave behind certainty and enter possibility. It is the same sensation that drives myths and art, a reminder that human imagination itself is a kind of forest. As we move forward, the next part of our journey will explore forests as homes for animal sanctuaries of biodiversity, where evolution flourishes under green canopies. Forests are not just vast green spaces covering continents. They are alive with hidden voices, movements, and interactions. Every branch, every fallen log, and every patch of soil hosts creatures both familiar and unseen. Forests are sanctuaries of biodiversity, perhaps the greatest living libraries of life on Earth. Fact 167. The Amazon rainforest alone contains an estimated 390 billion individual trees, belonging to around 16,000 different species. Within its canopy and understory, biologists estimate that 1 in 10 known species on Earth can be found here. Fact 168. Tropical rainforests. Though they cover only about 6% of the Earth's land surface, are home to more than half of all terrestrial species. This density of life is unparalleled, making them global biodiversity hotspots. Fact 169. Within the Amazon, jaguars stalk silently along rivers. Giant river otters play in slow-moving waters. And poison dart frogs, no larger than a fingernail, flash neon hues that warn predators of their toxicity. Each species plays a role in the delicate balance of life. Fact 170. The Congo Basin, Africa's great rainforest, shelters forest elephants, bonobos, and okapi. These animals are often called engineers of the forest, dispersing seeds and shaping the ecosystem as they move through it. Fact 171. The Boreal forests of Canada and Russia, vast stretches of conifers, are home to wolves, moose, and the elusive lynx. Migratory birds, such as warblers, travel thousands of kilometers each year to breed in these northern forests, proving how global biodiversity is deeply interconnected. Fact 172. Southeast Asia's forests, rich with dipterocarp trees, host orangutans, gibbons, and clouded leopards. In Borneo and Sumatra, orangutans use leaves as tools and even fashion umbrellas to shield themselves from rain. A vivid example of forest intelligence. Fact 173. Forests also harbor some of the smallest and most unusual creatures. In Madagascar's forests, the Brukizi nana chameleon measures less than 3 centimeters in length, one of the tiniest reptiles in the world. Yet, within the same forest, lemurs leap between trees, filling the night with haunting calls. Fact 174. Fungi, often overlooked, are essential forest dwellers. Mycorrhizal fungi form underground networks that connect trees, allowing them to exchange nutrients and chemical signals. Scientists sometimes call this the wood wide web. Forests, in this sense, are not just collections of individuals, but living communities. Fact 175. Biodiversity in forests sustains global human life. Around 80% of terrestrial animals and plants depend on forests, and many of the world's medicines are derived from forest plants, including treatments for cancer, malaria, and heart disease. Fact 176. Bird diversity in forests is astonishing. In the Amazon, a single square kilometer may host more than 400 bird species. Parrots, toucans, and harpy eagles thrive in these ecosystems, each species fulfilling ecological roles from seed dispersal to predation. Fact 177. Tropical cloud forests, such as those in Costa Rica, are dripping with biodiversity. Mosses, orchids, and bromeliads cling to every branch, creating microhabitats where insects, amphibians, and birds find refuge in a misty world. Fact 178. Some forests even serve as evolutionary laboratories. The islands, though not large in forest cover, offer lessons about how isolation in wooded habitats produced species like Darwin's finches, adapted uniquely to their niches. Fact 179. Indigenous knowledge about forest biodiversity is vast. Many Amazonian tribes can name hundreds of tree and plant species, describing their uses for food, medicine, and ritual. This knowledge represents not only culture, but also a survival guide honed over generations. Fact 180. In Boreal regions, reindeer and caribou rely heavily on lichen, which they paw out from beneath the snow. The forests here are quieter, but no less vital, hosting resilient species that survive under extreme seasonal cycles. Fact 181. The Sunda pangolin, a scaly anteater found in Southeast Asian forests, is one of the most endangered animals due to poaching. Yet, in the safety of forests, it performs a crucial role by consuming tens of thousands of ants and termites each night, balancing insect populations. Fact 182. Forest diversity is not static, it is dynamic. Natural disturbances such as storms, floods, and fires open gaps in canopies, allowing new species to emerge. This cycle of disturbance and renewal keeps ecosystems healthy and adaptive. Fact 183. Coral reefs are sometimes called the rainforests of the sea. But in many ways, rainforests are also coral reefs on land, hosting immense complexity in vertical layers, from the towering, emergent layer to the canopy, the understory, and the forest floor. Each layer houses unique life. Fact 184. Bioluminescent fungi, glowing faintly in the darkness, inhabit certain forests of Asia and South America. These natural lights have fascinated people for centuries, adding a touch of otherworldliness to the nocturnal forest. Fact 185. Biodiversity extends to soundscapes. Forests hum, chirp, and whistle with life. Ecologists studying acoustic ecology record these natural symphonies, noting that the healthiest forests are also the loudest, with overlapping calls of insects, birds, frogs, and mammals. Fact 186. Rainforests also contain keystone species whose presence supports countless others. The Brazil nut tree, for instance, relies on a single species of bee for pollination. Without that bee, the tree cannot reproduce, and without the tree, countless other animals lose food and habitat. Fact 187. Forests serve as critical stopovers for migratory species. Monarch butterflies, for example, travel thousands of kilometers from Canada to overwinter in the Oyamal fir forests of central Mexico, filling trees with orange wings like living leaves. Fact 188. The biodiversity of forests offers resilience against climate change. Greater diversity means greater stability. Ecosystems with many species are more likely to adapt and survive environmental pressures. Fact 189. Some forests are home to undiscovered species. Scientists estimate that millions of organisms, particularly insects, fungi, and microorganisms, remain unnamed. Forests are living treasure troves of mystery, reminding us that much of Earth's life is still hidden. Fact 190. Biodiversity in forests enriches human culture as much as it sustains nature. From medicinal plants to symbolic animals, from food to folklore, every species is a story, a thread in the vast fabric of life. Forests are sanctuaries, not only for humans seeking quiet, but for the endless symphony of creatures that make up the living world. In the next part, we will explore the sounds and silence of forest, the acoustic landscapes that shape memory, identity, and the rhythm of life itself. When night falls over a forest, silence is never truly silence. Instead, it is filled with whispers, pulses, and songs, symphony, created not by instruments, but by life itself. Forests are defined not only by what we see, but also by what we hear. Their soundscapes are rich archives of nature's voices, and to listen to them is to step into an ancient rhythm that predates humanity. Fact 191. Every forest has its own unique acoustic fingerprint. In tropical rainforests, the sound is dense and layered. Cicadas buzz, frogs croak, birds call, and primates howl across the canopy. In boreal forests, by contrast, the soundscape is sparser, punctuated by the call of loons, the wind through pine needles, and the crunch of snow beneath hooves. Fact 192. Researchers now use ecoacoustics to measure the health of forests. Healthy forests tend to be noisier, with overlapping calls from many species, while degraded or disturbed forests often sound eerily quiet. Sound, then, becomes a measure of biodiversity and ecosystem health. Fact 193. The Amazon rainforest, often described as the loudest forest on Earth, hosts a dawn chorus that begins as early as 4 a.m. Thousands of birds, frogs, and insects begin to call almost simultaneously, their combined voices forming a rising wall of sound that can last for hours. Fact 194. Gibbons, found in the forests of Southeast Asia, perform haunting duets at dawn. Mated pairs sing together, their voices intertwining in complex patterns that echo across valleys. These calls serve not only to bond pairs, but also to declare territory. Fact 195. In the forests of North America, woodpeckers carve rhythms into tree trunks, drumming both as a way to forage for insects and to communicate with potential mates. Each species has its own rhythm, a kind of percussion in the grand forest orchestra. Fact 196. Owls, the nocturnal guardians of forests, dominate the soundscape at night. Their calls vary dramatically between species, from the deep hoots of the great horned owl to the eerie, descending tremolos of the screech owl. In many cultures, these sounds carry symbolic meaning tied to mystery, wisdom, or omens. Fact 197. Frogs are another critical voice in forest soundscapes. In tropical forests, entire nights are filled with the calls of dozens of species, each tuned to a slightly different pitch. Male frogs sing to attract mates, often producing choruses so loud they can be heard kilometers away. Fact 198. Soundscapes are layered vertically, much like the physical structure of forests. Insects dominate the understory with buzzing and trilling. Birds fill the canopy with melodies, while mammals like monkeys or deer contribute low resonant calls from the forest floor. Fact 199. Indigenous peoples living in forests often interpret soundscapes as messages. The crack of a branch, the distant roar of a howler monkey, or the specific rhythm of rainfall all provide information, hunting, or storytelling. The forest speaks, and those who live within it learn to listen. Fact 200. Some forest sounds are beyond human hearing. Elephants, for example, communicate using infrasonic calls that travel kilometers through the ground and trees. Though we cannot hear them unaided, these vibrations are part of the forest's invisible communication network. Fact 201. In certain forests of Madagascar, Indri lemurs sing long, drawn-out calls that can last several minutes. These songs, rising and falling like human choruses, are among the most haunting and melodic of any primate. Fact 202. Silence also has meaning in forests. After a predator arrives, birds may stop calling and insects may fall quiet. This sudden absence of sound can signal danger. Even silence, in this way, is part of the acoustic dialogue. Fact 203. Rain transforms soundscapes in dramatic ways. In tropical forests, sudden downpours replace bird calls with the drumming of raindrops on leaves, the gurgle of streams, and the swelling hum of water. The sound of rain on a forest canopy is considered by many travelers one of the most soothing natural experiences. Fact 204. Forests also amplify natural sounds. A waterfall miles away may sound closer, its roar bouncing off valleys and trees. Similarly, bird songs can carry surprisingly far, aided by the reflective surfaces of leaves and trunks. Fact 205. Wolves, living at the edges of boreal forests, not only to communicate, but also to use the forest's acoustics. Their calls bounce across snow and through pine corridors, allowing packs to hear one another over vast distances. Fact 206. In certain African forests, the drumming of chimpanzees echoes across trees. They beat on the buttresses of large hollow trunks, producing booming sounds that can travel far. These drumming messages are thought to communicate dominance, identity, and even mood. Fact 207. Cicadas, often associated with summer, are especially important in temperate and tropical forest soundscapes. Their songs, produced by vibrating membranes called timbals, can reach up to 120 decibels, louder than a chainsaw. In some forests, millions emerge simultaneously, overwhelming the environment with sound. Fact 208. Acoustic monitoring of forests is increasingly used in conservation. By placing recording devices in remote areas, scientists can track changes in biodiversity, monitor illegal logging or poaching, and even detect the return of rare species. The forest's voice becomes both guardian and witness. Fact 209. Soundscapes can influence human well-being. Research has shown that natural forest sounds reduce stress, lower heart rates, and improve sleep quality. This is why recordings of rainforests, bird calls, and flowing streams are often used in meditation or sleep apps. Fact 210. The sounds of forests also inspire art and music. From classical compositions that mimic bird calls to indigenous drumming rooted in forest rhythms, human creativity has long been shaped by listening to nature's orchestra. Fact 211. The forest, in sound, is a storyteller. Each rustle, each cry, each rhythmic drop of rain is part of an unfolding narrative that reminds us that life is continuous, interconnected, and deeply resonant. As we leave the soundscapes of forests, we step into another layer of mystery, the cultural and spiritual meaning of these wooded landscapes. Forests are not only ecological wonders, but also sacred spaces woven into myths, rituals, and worldviews. Forests are not just ecosystems. They are sacred, symbolic, and deeply tied to human imagination. Across continents and civilizations, people have looked at forests not only as a source of wood, food, and shelter, but also as living cathedral spaces where the boundary between the natural and the spiritual blurs. Fact 212. In ancient Greece, groves were seen as sacred spaces dedicated to gods. The oak, for example, was associated with Zeus, and priests would interpret the rustling of its leaves as messages from the divine. Forests were thus natural temples where humans sought wisdom and connection to higher powers. Fact 213. In Japan, forests are central to Shinto belief. Trees are considered vessels of kami, or spirits. Sacred groves, called Chinju no Mori, surround shrines, creating spaces where nature and faith merge. Walking through such groves is not only spiritual, but also meditative, a quiet way of connecting with nature's presence. Fact 214. In Hindu tradition, forests are often depicted as places of refuge, meditation, and learning. The great epics, such as the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, include long episodes where characters retreat into forests to seek wisdom, endure exile, or encounter divine beings. Fact 215. The Celtic peoples of Europe viewed forests as enchanted landscapes filled with fairies, spirits, and otherworldly beings. Oak, ash, and yew trees held particular symbolic weight, seen as doorways to other realms. To walk through a dense Celtic forest was to step between worlds. Fact 216. In the Amazon rainforest, indigenous groups consider the forest itself to be a living, breathing entity with whom they are in constant relationship. Shamans often describe listening to the voices of trees and animals during ceremonies, learning healing practices and knowledge directly from the forest. Fact 217. In Norse mythology, Yggdrasil, the world tree, connects the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. This great ash tree embodies the idea that all life is interconnected, with its branches stretching across the cosmos and its roots tapping into hidden realms. Fact 218. In Christianity, forests have often been depicted as places of both temptation and revelation. Medieval monks retreated to wooded areas for solitude and prayer, but forests were also portrayed in folklore as shadowy, dangerous spaces filled with moral tests. Fact 219. In Buddhist traditions, forests are prime locations for meditation and enlightenment. The Buddha himself attained enlightenment under a tree, and forest monasteries in countries like Thailand and Sri Lanka continue this practice, emphasizing simplicity and closeness to nature. Fact 220. Folklore worldwide is filled with forest spirits and guardians. In Slavic mythology, for instance, the Leshy is a woodland spirit who protects animals and trees, sometimes tricking or guiding travelers, where the line between fear and reverence is thin. Fact 221. Many cultures perform rituals in forests to mark seasons or transitions. May Day celebrations in Europe involved gathering greenery from woods, while some Native American tribes held ceremonies in forest clearings, honoring animals, plants, and the spirits of place. Fact 222. Forests symbolize transformation in countless myths and fairy tales. Characters who enter deep woods often undergo trials, face fears, and emerge changed. The forest becomes a metaphor for the unknown, the subconscious, and personal growth. Fact 223. Sacred forests still exist today as protected cultural sites. In India alone, more than 100,000 sacred groves are preserved by local communities, often untouched for centuries, acting as both spiritual sanctuaries and biodiversity refuges. Fact 224. Trees themselves are often revered as ancestors or guardians. In parts of Africa, certain baobabs are treated as living monuments, central to community life and rituals. To harm them is seen as disrespectful, not only to nature, but also to heritage. Fact 225. Literature frequently uses forests as powerful symbols. These landscapes represent both peril and possibility, places where ordinary life gives way to magic. Fact 226. Forests also shape architecture. In Gothic cathedrals, the tall, branching columns and vaulted ceilings were inspired by the feeling of standing among towering trees. To enter such a cathedral was to step into a stone forest, a place of awe and transcendence. Fact 227. In modern times, forests have become symbols of conservation and sustainability. Protecting rainforests and boreal forests is not only about saving ecosystems, but also about safeguarding cultural heritage and the spiritual connections people hold with these places. Fact 228. Even the act of forest bathing, or Shinrin-yoku in Japan, carries spiritual undertones. It is not just a health practice, but also a quiet ritual of presence, a way of entering into dialogue with the forest and receiving its calm energy. Fact 229. For travelers seeking luxury and cultural depth, forest retreats, whether ecolodges in Costa Rica, ryokans near Japanese cedar forests, or cabins in Scandinavian woods, for not just comfort, but also a sense of immersion in landscapes rich with symbolism. Fact 230. Forests remind us of our deep roots. They are places where myth, memory, and meaning grow as abundantly as trees. To step into a forest is to step into history and spirituality, to feel the weight of timeless stories pressing gently against the present. As we leave behind the cultural and spiritual resonance of forests, our path leads to another vital dimension: forests as providers of resources. Wood, medicine, food, and countless other essentials have been drawn from forests. Forests have always been humanity's pantry, pharmacy, and workshop. Long before cities rose and global trade connected continents, people turned to the forest for survival. Even today, despite modern supply chains, forests remain essential sources of food, medicine, and materials, sustaining economies and cultures across the world. Fact 231. Forests cover about 31% of Earth's land area, and more than 1.6 billion people depend directly on them for their livelihoods. This includes timber harvesting, hunting, gathering food, and traditional medicine, as well as tourism industries built around forest landscapes. Fact 232. Wood is the most widely used forest product, and it has shaped civilizations. From the wooden ships that launched global exploration to the homes, furniture, and paper of modern societies, forests have supplied the raw materials that built economies and empires. Fact 233. Paper, made from wood pulp, transformed education, communication, and culture. Without forests, the spread of literacy and knowledge would have been far slower. Even in today's digital age, paper remains a critical resource, linking forests directly to education and global communication. Fact 234. Forests are vital sources of food. Wild fruits, nuts, mushrooms, and honey have nourished communities for millennia. The chestnuts of southern Europe, the acai berries of the Amazon, and the pine nuts of Asia are all forest-derived staples that continue to feed millions. Fact 235. Forests also provide protein through hunting and fishing. In tropical forests, wild game remains a major food source for indigenous peoples, while rivers and streams running through forests supply fish essential to local diets. Fact 236. Many of the world's most important medicines originate in forests. Quinine, derived from the bark of the cinchona tree, was once the only effective treatment for malaria. Today, researchers continue to search tropical forests for plants that may hold cures for diseases such as cancer. Fact 237. About 25% of modern medicines are derived from rainforest plants. Yet, less than 1% of these plants have been tested for medicinal properties. This makes the preservation of forests a matter not only of ecology, but of global health and pharmaceutical innovation. Fact 238. Forests provide fuelwood and charcoal, which remain primary energy sources for billions of people, particularly in rural regions of Africa and Asia. While renewable alternatives are growing, wood fuel still accounts for over half of global wood consumption. Fact 239. Non-timber forest products, such as resins, latex, and essential oils, support global industries. Frankincense and myrrh, harvested from forest trees, have been traded for thousands of years, while modern perfumes and cosmetics rely on forest oils like sandalwood and cedar. Fact 240. Bamboo, often called the green steel of the 21st century, is a forest product that grows rapidly and can be used for everything from building houses to making textiles. Its sustainability and versatility make it a vital material for eco-friendly economies. Fact 241. Forests also supply luxury goods that shape global trade. Mahogany, ebony, and teak are prized hardwoods used in fine furniture and architecture, while forest-derived spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla have fueled centuries of exploration and commerce. Fact 242. Rubber, essential to modern technology and transportation, originally came from the latex of Hevea brasiliensis, a tree native to the Amazon. The rubber boom of the late 19th century reshaped economies in South America and later Southeast Asia, linking forests to global industrialization. Fact 243. Coffee and cacao, two of the world's most beloved commodities, grow in forested regions. Coffee thrives in shaded agroforestry systems, while cacao's origins lie in the understory of tropical forests. Both products highlight how forests underpin global luxury and tourism economies. Fact 244. Forests are vital for clean water. Trees filter rainfall, reducing pollution and regulating water cycles. Many of the world's largest cities, including New York, rely on protected forest watersheds to supply drinking water to millions of people. Fact 245. Ecotourism has become one of the fastest-growing industries in the world, with forests at its heart. Travelers seek the biodiversity of the Amazon, the mystical beauty of Scandinavian boreal forests, or the vibrant colors of autumn in New England. This creates jobs and revenue while also emphasizing conservation. Fact 246. Forests provide not only physical resources, but also intellectual inspiration. Biomimicry, the practice of designing technology and architecture based on natural patterns, often takes lessons from trees and forest ecosystems, such as energy-efficient building designs modeled on forest canopies. Fact 247. The cultural economy of forests extends into art, cuisine, and craftsmanship. Forest mushrooms inspire gourmet cooking, while woodcarving traditions in Africa, Asia, and Europe highlight how forests provide both raw materials and artistic inspiration. Fact 248. Sustainable forest management is now a key focus worldwide, balancing economic needs with conservation. Certification systems, such as the Forest Stewardship Council, allow consumers to choose wood and paper products that support responsible forestry. Fact 249. Forests are economic powerhouses when considered collectively. The global value of ecosystem services provided by forests, including carbon storage, water purification, and pollinations, estimated in the trillions of dollars annually. Fact 250. Forests remind us that resources are both gifts and responsibilities. They provide wood, food, medicine, and inspiration, but their abundance is not infinite. To use forests wisely is to ensure that future generations may also enjoy their bounty and security. From the forests as resource providers, we now turn to a different but equally essential role: forests as defenders of the planet. Beyond giving us materials and food, they stabilize climates, anchor soils, and shield life from environmental extremes. Forests are often called the lungs of the earth, but they are also its shield. They defend our climate, protect the soil beneath our feet, and regulate the delicate systems that make life possible. Without forests, the earth would be harsher, poorer, and far more unstable. Their protective role is silent, yet immeasurable. Fact 251. Forests are powerful regulators of climate. Through photosynthesis, trees absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Globally, forests store about 289 gigatons of carbon, helping to offset the effects of fossil fuel emissions. Without them, climate change would accelerate dramatically. Fact 252. Tropical rainforests, especially the Amazon, are sometimes called the carbon sponge of the world. Every year, they absorb billions of tons of carbon dioxide, acting as one of Earth's most important buffers against greenhouse gas accumulation. Fact 253. Forests influence rainfall patterns. Trees release water vapor through transpiration, creating clouds and encouraging precipitation. In the Amazon, it is said that a single tree can release hundreds of liters of water into the atmosphere each day, helping sustain regional and even continental rainfall. Fact 254. Forests act as shields against natural disasters. Coastal mangrove forests reduce the impact of storm surges and tsunamis, while mountain forests help stabilize slopes, reducing landslides and avalanches. These natural defenses save lives and reduce economic losses in vulnerable regions. Fact 255. Soils depend on forests for their stability. The root systems of trees hold soil in place, preventing erosion. In deforested areas, heavy rains often wash away topsoil, degrading farmland and leading to desertification. Forests are the guardians of fertile land. Fact 256. Forests also help regulate global temperatures. By shading the ground and releasing moisture into the air, they cool their local environments. This forest air conditioning effect can reduce heat extremes, making surrounding regions more habitable for humans, crops, and wildlife. Fact 257. Boreal forests, stretching across Canada, Russia, and Scandinavia, influence the planet's albedo or reflectivity. Snow-covered forests reflect sunlight, while dark conifers absorb it. This delicate balance helps regulate northern hemisphere climates and global weather patterns. Fact 258. Forests protect freshwater systems. By filtering rainfall and slowing runoff, they reduce the risk of floods and maintain clean water supplies. Wetlands and riparian forests, those that grow along rivers, are especially crucial in filtering out pollutants before they reach lakes and streams. Fact 259. Mangrove forests, with their intricate root systems, provide one of the world's most effective natural defenses against coastal erosion. These forests trap sediments, build land, and provide barriers against storm waves, saving billions in artificial infrastructure costs. Fact 260. Forests are essential habitats for pollinators like bees, bats, and birds. These species are not just important for biodiversity, they are vital for agriculture and global food security. Forests indirectly protect human diets by maintaining the web of pollination. Fact 261. Forests also act as a defense against disease. Studies have shown that biodiversity in forests reduces the risk of disease spillovers from animals to humans. When forests are degraded, animals are forced into closer contact with people, increasing the likelihood of outbreaks. Fact 262. Urban forests and city trees provide protective services too. They reduce air pollution by filtering particulates, lower city temperatures during heat waves, and buffer noise. They act as defenders of public health in environments far removed from wilderness. Fact 263. Forests stabilize the carbon cycle. By locking carbon into long-lived trees, soils, and ecosystems, they create long-term storage systems. Some trees live for centuries, holding carbon that would otherwise circulate into the atmosphere. Ancient forests, like those in North America and Tasmania, are invaluable carbon vaults. Fact 264. Deforestation contributes significantly to global warming. When forests are cut and burned, they release stored carbon into the atmosphere. It is estimated that about 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions come from deforestation and forest degradation alone. Fact 265. Forests defend cultural stability as much as ecological stability. Many indigenous communities see forests as protectors, not merely resources. Sacred groves in Africa, India, and South America symbolize the idea that forests guard both spiritual and physical well-being. Fact 266. Forests, moderate winds and storms. Dense forest belts act as natural windbreaks, protecting crops and settlements from damaging gusts. In open agricultural regions, reforesting even small strips can protect fields from soil erosion caused by strong winds. Fact 267. Forests are defenders of biodiversity. By providing shelter and resources for more than 80% of terrestrial species, they shield life from extinction. Their role as protectors extends beyond humans to encompass the entire fabric of terrestrial ecosystems. Fact 268. Forests protect against droughts as much as floods. By storing water in their soils and slowly releasing it, they sustain rivers during dry seasons. This buffering effect prevents water crises in regions that rely on seasonal rainfall. Fact 269. Forests provide resilience against climate extremes, which are growing more common in the modern world. Their ability to moderate heat, regulate rainfall, and stabilize soils makes them one of humanity's strongest allies against environmental change. Fact 270. Forests are not just shields for the Earth, but also for our future. As the planet faces rising temperatures and shifting weather patterns, forests remain a powerful defense system. Protecting them means protecting the generations yet to come. With their role as defenders established, we are left with a deeper appreciation of forests, not only as sources of wonder, but as pillars of survival. To conclude this journey, we will reflect on the philosophical and symbolic meaning of forestry, final part of our calm exploration. Forests are more than ecosystems. They are symbols of mystery, resilience, and wisdom. From mythology to modern science, from poetry to conservation, forests have always inspired humanity to look beyond the surface of life and into something deeper, something timeless. Fact 271. Forests are central to myths across cultures. In European folklore, forests are often portrayed as places of mystery settings for quests, transformations, and encounters with the unknown. They represented both danger and sanctuary, the wildness of nature that humans could not control. Fact 272. In Japanese Shinto tradition, forests are considered sacred spaces. Many shrines are located within groves, emphasizing the connection between natural spaces and the spiritual realm. The concept of Chinju no Mori, or guardian forests, highlights the idea that trees protect both the land and the people who inhabit it. Fact 273. In Native American cultures, forests are often described as teachers. Trees embody patience, strength, and endurance. Many stories passed down through generations describe how forests remind people to live in harmony with cycles of growth, decay, and renewal. Fact 274. Forests symbolize freedom. For enslaved or oppressed communities throughout history, forests often became refuges. Escaped enslaved people in the Americas found sanctuary in dense forests, where they built new lives away from the reach of authorities. Fact 275. Forests have inspired countless works of art and literature. From Dante's dark wood in the Divine Comedy to Tolkien's enchanted Fangorn forest, forests serve as metaphors for journeys of self-discovery, transformation, and the search for truth. Fact 276. In modern psychology, forests are linked to healing and calm. Practices like forest bathing or Shinrin-yoku, developed in Japan, have become popular worldwide. Research shows that spending time in forests reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and enhances mood. Fact 277. Forests symbolize resilience. Despite fires, storms, or human destruction, forests have the ability to regrow. A burned woodland may seem lifeless at first, but within years, green shoots return, showing the persistence of life itself. Fact 278. Forests are often symbols of mystery. The canopy overhead blocks sunlight, creating shadows and hidden places. This sense of mystery has long inspired both fear and awe, reminding us of nature's ability to remain beyond human control. Fact 279. Forests symbolize interconnectedness. In modern science, we have discovered that trees share resources and even information through fungal networks. What mythology intuited centuries ago that trees are connected, science has now confirmed. Fact 280. Forests symbolize time on a grand scale. Ancient trees live for centuries, sometimes millennia, bearing witness to human civilizations that rise and fall. In their silent growth, they remind us of a perspective far beyond the span of a single lifetime. Fact 281. In environmental movements, forests have become symbols of survival. From the fight to save the Amazon, to effort to protect Boreal wilderness, forests embody the broader struggle to preserve life on Earth. Fact 282. Forests often symbolize abundance. They provide fruits, medicines, wood, and shelter. In myths and in reality, they are portrayed as generous providers, capable of sustaining life even in times of scarcity. Fact 283. Forests are also associated with thresholds. In many stories, to enter a forest is to cross from the ordinary world into a realm of transformation. Whether in fairy tales or personal journeys, the forest represents a place where change becomes possible. Fact 284. Forests symbolize silence and listening. Walking through a dense forest, one is surrounded by quiet, broken only by rustling leaves or bird calls. This environment encourages reflection, deep listening, and a slowing down of thought. Fact 285. Forests inspire awe, not only for their beauty, but for their scale. The Amazon rainforest spans over 5.5 million square kilometers. The taiga stretches across multiple countries. The sheer immensity of forests reminds us of forces much larger than ourselves. Fact 286. Forests remind us of cycles. Leaves fall, decay, and become soil. New saplings rise, grow, and one day fall themselves. The endless cycle of birth, death, and renewal plays out in forests in a way both visible and poetic. Fact 287. Forests are often depicted as protectors of secrets. Ancient groves and old-growth forests feel like places where wisdom is stored, hidden among roots and branches. This symbolism has carried through from ancient myths into modern-day reverence. Fact 288. Forests symbolize unity of life. From the tiniest insects to towering trees, every element has a place. Forests remind us that life is strongest, not in isolation, but in connection and diversity. Fact 289. Forests symbolize hope. Even in the face of deforestation and climate change, reforestation projects are proving that landscapes can be healed. Every tree planted becomes a symbol of renewal and a vision for a better future. Fact 290. Forests are ultimately symbols of life itself. They sustain air, water, soil, and climate. They inspire art, belief, and healing. They represent the mystery of existence and the resilience of nature. As we close this journey of 40 calm facts about forests, we are left with an image. A forest at dusk, light filtering through the trees. A quiet breeze carrying the scent of earth and leaves. In that stillness, we can hear both the ancient heartbeat of the planet and the promise of its future. Thank you for listening, for walking calmly through this story of rainforests, boreal expanses, and sacred groves. If you found peace in these words, remember to carry that calm with you into rest tonight. The forests will continue to whisper, breathe, and endure. And in their resilience, perhaps we too can find our own.